Catapult me. Take some telegraph poles, some old rope, and an old canal lock gate. Find a young carpenter with a big beard, and fabricate and then assemble a trebuchet. It will take a week, the word will go round that help is needed to shift the large pieces of timber. A kind of seriousness will unfurl, the seriousness of young men slowly becoming older men whilst working on a project. They will talk about other projects with sawdust on their eyelashes and arm hair. During breaks, the lead carpenter will look into the distance as he chews on a stogie of baguette. He was a very keen apprentice himself some 10 years ago, but less keen to hold the door open to prospective apprentices now. Selfish arsehole, the others call him, but not to his face. As a young man, he cycled along forest tracks with his dog running alongside him. A light-lashed loner in dusty jeans. His thoughts would never wander far from the practical as he grew, although when he saw sunlight burning on the surface of reservoirs in the distance, he would feel something. About as close as I ever got to a religious feeling, he says to a bored girlfriend years later, after making love on a low bed or futon. Smoking dope with dopes on a hill, he would offer observations about the light twinkling on the horizon. They would nod, but there was no real connection. But now he's building a trebuchet using traditional tools. Hack, hack, hack. Bang, 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 bang. His tea-stained teeth also look like traditional tools. In fact, if you dried him out, he could be a big tool. Some kind of freckled hack hammer thing. Dry him out. Burn his hair off with a taper. Glue his genitals to his fuselage. Sew his eyes shut. Stuff his butt with horsehair. Shellac the twat. Make a special felt bag with a strap to put him in. Keep him in the barn hanging next to an old wagon wheel and two-man saw. Bring him out one New Year's Eve to show some kids. Put him back in the bag and hang him up next to the wagon wheel and the two-man saw. But for now, he's building a trebuchet with traditional skills. They are building it in situ. They have figured the trajectory out already, drawing it on the grass with the climber's chalk the carpenter has in the pouch on his belt. The intention is to catapult me high over the poplar trees and onto the mudflats beyond. For me to land on the mudflats with a slap that is so complete that my whole being will be slapped out of my body. The ultimate slap. The total slap. It will hurt more than landing on water or dry land, a small man in an Aztec patterned vest says. He suggests stationing someone near the mudflats to record my slapping into the mud with a microphone, to record the slap properly. The poplar trees were planted 70 years before by two men, two very different men. One was a placid, introspective person who thought of his family often, and as he dug the holes for the young trees, he thought of the items of food that he would have been able to place on the table for each particular effort. He wore overalls that dropped short by half an inch at the ankles. The other man is stronger with thicker, tanned arms. He has no family and talks about sex all the time. Every swing of his pick or scoop of his shovel prompts some kind of rude word or lewd idiom. He is perverted, the other man thinks, and he doesn't wear overalls. They work well together, though. They are a good team. When they break for lunch, not a word is spoken. A quiet man eats his neat-packed lunch with the same care with which it was packed. The pervert chomps on sexy pastries, allowing the filling to splash on his nose and cheeks. 2 rows of 40 trees are planted perfectly straight. For years, only the people living nearby see them as they edge slowly upward. But over one summer, they sprout and reach a certain height. And from that moment on, they become a landmark. Travellers start to use them as a milestone from then on in. People would say, when you get to the poplars, or not so far from the poplars, you know, the tall poplars. Or if you've come as far as the poplars, you've come too far. Very few people even knew who had planted them. For some, the trees are a large part of their local geography. They are majestic, and their height is dizzying. When winds blow through them, the sound is mesmerizing, a very complex wind sound. Years and years later, the two poplar tree planters meet at a medieval-themed fair. They introduce their wives to each other and exchange pleasantries and walk around the stalls together. After reminiscing carefully, the chaste man, who aged in a way that made him look cute, decides that the bawdy man has mellowed with age and observes that his wife seems like a decent person. Good, he says to himself. They spend the rest of the afternoon together talking about the poplars and trying different medieval food that we don't eat anymore. As they are about to bid each other farewell, the former pervert drops to his knees. A stray arrow from an archery demonstration from somewhere way behind the hot potato bayonet has struck him on the back. The bodkin-style arrowhead has easily penetrated his skull and is just nudging against the part of the brain that coordinates all things sexy. The pervert dies with a filthy groan. Oh. The catapult is finished. The sawdust is brushed outwards and into the scalp of the field. The smell of wood lingers around the catapult. The carpenter and the young helpers go back to their homes for showers and sandwiches. The sawdust and grime from their efforts is sluiced down their respective shower trays to be reunited in the town's sewer system. They dress smartly and return to the site. They have worked with each other intensely for days. But when they see each other in pressed shirts and clean jeans, zinging with cologne, they become giddy and almost flirtatious with each other, all save for the head carpenter who frowns and fiddles with his cups. The scoop of the trebuchet that's going to hold me as I'm catapulted is a wooden spoon design. a slotted wooden spoon. The carpenters have carved their names around the rim of the spoon to kind of personalize it, you know? And I say to them, how ridiculous to carve in a calligraphic font, I scoff, as I'm ready for the machine. Shut up and sit down, the small man in the Aztec vest shouts. He's not wearing the Aztec vest, he's gone home and had a shower and put a shirt on. His smart collar's enormous next to his small head. He is a little drunk. My long legs dangle either side of the spoon as I'm put into position. I can smell the wood of the trebuchet that was made with traditional tools. I can see the men with beards who built the trebuchet with traditional tools. The crank is cranked, and the steady click of this rebuilt siege-breaking machine shakes me slightly. The carpenters stretch their spines and pay closer attention. I don't know who is the most nervous, me or the young men that built this thing. The correct tension has been reached. I can feel it. It's vibrating through my whole being. The lever is thrown, and an acceleration the like of which I've never experienced before in my life sends me sailing through the air, my legs flapping. My eyes water, and I clear the poplar trees, but only just, as I brush the top one of them. For the last 100 meters of my descent, I think of things. Here's some. A cat I once saw on the roof of a hotel in San Sebastian in the Basque Country. A politician trapping a rolling tangerine under his foot. A piece of lace being burnt in an ashtray. I thought about a steam traction engine. About frozen ditches full of trash. About a sad air hostess reading a text. When I hit the mudflats, it's a crack, a slam that pushes my whole existence out of my frame. I'm subtracted from myself in an instant. My history, my track record, my anger and appetite and libido are all smacked out of my body. My soul passes through the soft mudflats and then through the harder clay. As I pass through, I'm filtered and less of me is travelling onwards. When I hit bedrock, I'm no more than a vague wisp. I stay there for about 9 days before I manage to muster the energy to consider making a move. I'm like a weak clay wafer. Sideways, though, I can slip through, and I do slip through, back up towards ground level. A residue on the move through strata. I am mostly bark and dirt when I surface between two of the poplars. I make hair for myself from wool snagged on a fence, a beard even, a nod to my catapulters. I make a shift for myself out of potato sacking. I take two coal scuttles as shoes. They don't match, but they look good. I draw a whirlwind on my chest with fox shit. I devise and tune up a voice for myself, the voice of a small bear. I mosey to the home of the head carpenter. I can see a light on. He's listening to music on his stereo. He joins in with it from time to time with his weak voice. I pound on the door with my fist, but it doesn't make a pounding sound. He answers the door, but there's no one there. He can't see anyone there. He can't see me. I walk around the house and look in through the patio door and realize when I see that there is no reflection that I'm not really there at all, just a wisp of something, a miasma. I decide to lie down on his patio and have a nap. That's the end of it.